Thank you and welcome everybody to this site visit. Just to confirm who's here today, members of the planning committee, myself, Councillor Spurner, Councillor Clark, Councillor Valerie Kennedy, who's in substitute for Councillor Caffrey, Councillor David Thomas, Councillor Connie Nolan, Councillor Pat Edwards, and ward councillors? Yes, ward councillors, Ian and...
Sorry, we're about to have some visitors, so just all children coming.
Councillors Ian and Jeanette Stockley, and of course, last but by no means least, Councillor Eden Green. Welcome everybody. We've had a briefing of what's going on today. We all must adhere to social distancing, and as per my notes here, that only members of the committee members of the planning committee can take part in what's going on, and this is the purpose of the site visit is to enable the committee to inspect the site of a proposed development, not to debate planning merits of the case today. And we've also got online Colin, what's his surname, Steve? So yeah, Colin Finch from KCC, and if you can hear me, Colin, welcome. And now thank you. I'd like to hand over to the planning officer, Steve Musk, and I missed Darren Ellis, I'm sorry. Darren Ellis is a member of the Democratic team that's videoing and recording this for publication on the council website. Mr Musk, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for all coming. This is the Hillborough site. It's allocated in the local plan for a mixed-use development of up to 1,300 dwellings. It's one of the 12 strategic allocated sites in the local plan. The allocation is split up into 3 land ownerships. Today, the site visit is to consider the Taylor Wimpey element of the allocation. The land to the northwest of the site, over in that direction, is promoted by 2 other landowners, and that's Kitewood and AE Estates, and they will be dealt with under separate applications. For the Taylor Wimpey application that we're considering today, the applicant proposes a total of 900 dwellings, as well as other uses, including a school, community building, employment uses and retail uses as well. The majority of the development proposed in their application is in outline. Only 193 of the dwellings proposed by Taylor Wimpey are in the detailed element, which is to the northeast of the site, over towards Sweetsbridge Road. The applicant proposes 22.5% affordable housing provision throughout the Taylor Wimpey element, as set out in the report. As I mentioned, the detailed element is towards the northeast of the site. We can go and view that area in a moment. The new access to that area would be to the north of the Sweetsbridge Road railway bridge, so that would be the northern access to the site, and there would also be a new southern access into the site provided at the junction where we met, just down onto Sweetsbridge Road. As set out in the report, there are various highway improvements proposed in the local area, and the Highway Authority is available today to answer any questions that you may have on the location of those works or anything. Okay, thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Steve. Obviously, we're not going to debate any planning issues here this morning, and I expect there are quite a few that you've got. So I'll let the train go, first of all. Fantastic. But I think it's only fair to ask any of you, I see Dave Thomas has got his hand up, if there are any specific issues that could be addressed, and I hope I'm doing the right thing here, to do with this planning application. Councillor Dave Thomas.
Are we talking about that's the bridge that it could potentially have the traffic lights on as you approach and exit that road?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you just confirm to me that nobody in KCC or the developer owns a piece of land that is hopefully going to be widened to create access? So nobody owns it, apart from the person who owns the land. No one in this site or KCC own that piece of land. So that could end up becoming a ransom strip for loads of money and we're debating something that may or may not happen. So in some respects we can't consider it being widened. We have to consider the traffic light systems. If that's KCC's acceptable, that's fine, but KCC aren't living here. And if you've got residents that live in Beltinge and that area on the other side of the Thanet Way, the other side of the railway tracks, that is going to cause a massive gridlock coming into here. Now once you get past that section, what I don't understand, right, and maybe go in a brief and I get stopped, but I don't understand how come this development site is paying for or contributing towards the Herne Relief Road, and I don't understand the road infrastructure coming from this junction, going onto the roundabout, coming onto a slip road, coming onto the Thanet Way, coming off the Thanet Way, down the slip road in Herne, coming back onto the old Thanet Way, heading to Greenhill, coming back into
David, you're going off kilter.
Well,
I know what you're trying.
It's quite important, and if you stop me, that's fine. But my road infrastructure, and I do it now, is instead of going to Herne, because what you're going to have all the vehicles going into Herne, because they ain't going to go to Greenhill. Then you're going to have vehicles going through Hove, because they ain't going to go to Herne. Right?
Yeah,
I just don't understand why the road infrastructure isn't going to all St Nicholas at Wade, and the money that's on this development should be going to going to the Stowe Relief Road, in my opinion.
I understand what you're saying, but I must say, Steve, that we're dealing with this and not the Herne Relief Road, which is a different application.
Yeah, I mean, I can
altogether.
pick up some of those points. I can pick up.
Chair. It's linked to this site.
Yeah.
The money, I feel pressurised on this site that we give planning permission, so we got money to actually create a Home Relief Road.
Okay, we've got some members of the public that are out walking their dog, and they've asked if they could come through. Yeah, sorry. We've just met a couple of members of the public and their Rottweiler through. So in true council fashion, I paused the meeting for a minute or so to let the members of the public go through. And we're back now. Steve, I'll come to you in a minute, Connie, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Steve, did you want to...
Yeah. So in terms of the ownership of that section to the side of Sweetsbridge Road that would allow the widening to take place, you're correct at the moment. KCC don't own it and Canterbury Council don't own it. So it's private land. KCC are leading on trying to purchase that land to allow the widening to take place. And that process is ongoing at the moment. Now the condition sets out that there will be two options for resolving the issues on Sweetsbridge Road at the moment. I mean, as you know, that road is narrow to the north of the railway bridge. So it would either be the widening or it would be traffic lights that would allow single lane working. Now KCC, and I don't want to stray into the merits, but KCC have agreed with both of those options and said they would be acceptable. Now, so that is the condition that is proposed. So it wouldn't be a situation where there is a ransom, because there are two options. So there wouldn't be a ransom taking place.
I understand that, but on the planning side of it, we actually can't consider the other bit because no one owns that piece of land. So actually, we've got to consider it's going to be traffic lights.
Yeah,
and
so
gridlock.
I mean, that would be one of the options.
So
there is, as I say, the process is ongoing at the moment. It has been going on for a little while, and there aren't, as far as I'm aware, and Colin may be able to update us further, but I'm not aware of there being any obstacles that we're expecting to prevent that taking place, and it's been ongoing for a little while now. Now, the condition allows time for that negotiation to be completed, and then for those works to be put in place, I believe by the 100th occupation on the site. So that gives time for that negotiation to take place and to run its course. So that is the preferred option that we are looking to secure. But we do have the other option as a fallback, which is what the applicant originally proposed and which the Highway Authority have raised no objection to.
Yeah. Again, it's on 100 houses. We've already given planning permission for 192. So
it will be the 100th of those.
I'm saying that, but if we can't buy the piece of land, or the piece of land doesn't come up for sale, we're still back to traffic lights. So actually, there isn't two options. We've got to consider as a planning committee, there's only one in my eyes, and we've got to consider the worst scenario. And I'm not too keen if that's going to work.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, David,
It's in
and
the
we will
report,
when
David.
we come.
It's all here.
When we come back to this in committee mode properly, because this is a site visit and not a committee meeting. When we come back to that, I'm sure that we could even have more information from the planning officer through KCC and through Colin Finch, who is a transportation gentleman from KCC. So I think and hope that helps your sort of questioning, David, and I can go to Colin.
Colin, shall I just pick up
sorry.
before? Sorry, Colin. Shall I just pick up on the Home Relief Road point as well?
Yeah.
About the
If you
contribution?
want to, bearing in mind it's another
Well,
application.
all I would say is there is a contribution being secured from the Taylor Wimpey application that's proposed to be secured, and that would go towards, it would be the final outstanding amount towards the Home Relief Road. Now, at the moment, there are existing significant air quality concerns in Herne, and there are traffic congestion concerns as well. Now, those are acknowledged issues, and the local plan sets out a strategy for addressing those issues, and that is by the provision of the Home Relief Road. Now, this site, this development, the Hillborough development, is identified as contributing towards that, because there will be traffic that goes from this site towards Canterbury, and it will go through Herne if that relief road isn't in place. So it's a key part of the strategy for the delivery of the Home Relief Road is for contributions from this site to go towards there. So it certainly is to address the impact of this development.
Thank you, Steve.
And it's one of several development sites that are going into the Home Relief Road. This is not the only one, it's one of several.
That's quite correct, Nick. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just a
Councillor
point of-
Connie Nolan, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just a point of clarification and building on Councillor Thomas's point. Am I right in assuming the actual bridge is owned by the railway company, and the land either side is this particular one is owned by the landowners?
Yes, I'm
Right.
pretty sure this is Network Rail's bridge. I can double check that for you and confirm at the committee meeting. But yes, I'm pretty sure this is Network Rail's bridge, and they have.
Also, that would be Network Rail's bridge.
Yes, so we have
Yeah.
discussed the proposed works with Network Rail,
Yeah.
and as set out in the report, again, they've raised no issue
So,
with the
so
work.
why don't Network Rail
So there's a
own
sign here
the
that says
extra?
this bridge is owned by Network Rail.
Right, thank you. So,
That's
so
the
my
point
point.
of site visit, observation.
My point is, normally what happens is the railway company owns the land either side of the bridge for maintenance. That's my point, actually. Not yeah,
Is that a
but they
point-
could have sold it off to a venture capitalist, you know, or whatever.
Is that a point about the Sweet
Yeah,
Bridge
so,
Road work?
so I'm just thinking about that one.
Yeah.
It would be, normally it would be the rail company for maintenance
Yes.
would own that land.
It is Network Rail that wasn't
Right, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you very
Is that
much.
okay? Is that okay,
Yeah, no,
Connie?
it's
Yeah,
point of
thank you.
clarification, Chair.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Pat Edwards first, please, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just wanting to check directions of travel. So cars will eventually be able to come this way on
Yeah.
this bridge,
Yes.
and will go on that will be one way until it reaches a triangle. Is that right?
It will, yeah, it will be one way across
Until it
this
reaches
bridge.
a triangle down here.
Yeah.
I've got the map here.
Yeah.
So people can't come like this and go straight through the development.
So you will be able to turn at the roundabout and go back through the development towards Sainsbury's, yes. But the
It has to go. You have to go down to that roundabout, which will be at that junction,
you would do, yes.
and then go.
Yes, you would.
Okay, and there'll be a route back into the bottom part of the development. And then that bridge, I'm presuming, is the two-way,
No, it's a footbridge.
hang on, by foot and cycle.
Yes.
That's what that one is going to be, and that's
That's
the
right.
one that's 2 Altiera apart from the west of the site.
Yes.
We can sort of see it just here, because
Yeah.
we won't be going down there, will we, in this meeting?
I don't see there's a
Because
need
it's
to.
outline planning for the rest of it, isn't it? So
It is.
we are
So-
agreeing those points, as it
Yeah.
were, in
Yeah.
principle.
So the application does propose to provide improvements to
Or member of public company.
Vauxhall Lane.
Vauxhall Lane.
Vauxhall Lane, that's it, sorry.
Yeah, it's a Vauxhall Lane.
Vauxhall Bridge, isn't it? actually?
Yeah,
That's
we
right,
just,
yeah.
we've now got another member of public with a dog coming through, so we'll let this lady come through. And Pat, have you finished? Or?
That was correct, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that the only way you can get to Altera Park from this part of the development is down here to the roundabout,
Yeah.
and then back into the southern part of the
That's right.
development.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Or alternatively, obviously, you could go along Sweetsbridge Road, so you could go back out onto Sweetsbridge Road and down across there, either the widened section or the traffic lights, and then back into the site. But this May Street Bridge is
No,
providing
it's
southbound.
linked to Altera Park that I'm checking.
Yes.
How people get to Sainsbury's, get
Yeah,
back.
yeah, that's right. So
Traffic.
there'd be the pedestrian link down that way to Boxall Lane Bridge.
And that
There
one's
would also be this southbound movement along this
Yeah.
bridge here.
Because that really gives us an indication of the size of the site when you look how far away that bridge is.
Yes.
It's huge, yeah, massive, yeah. Okay, oh, sorry
That's the
people.
one I was
Right, okay. Carrying on, the 125 for Canterbury's just gone past. Councillor Ashley Clark, please.
Number of questions. First of all, this bridge, no plans to upgrade it or do anything at all?
Yes, there are works to the bridge that are proposed,
What?
and Network Rail have agreed to those works, as
Right.
have the Highway Authority.
Will that be widening it or
No, it won't be widening.
it's just to
Um,
strengthen it and make it nicer?
Yes, and there'll be a pedestrian path on the side you're on,
Yeah.
and then cars will be able to go southbound.
Cars this way only.
Yeah.
Fine. You've got on the master plan here, you've got arrows going into the other development,
Yes.
which we're not supposed to talk about. But at the end of the day, that's one of the exits from this development that we are talking about.
Yeah.
So the purpose of those arrows is to indicate that that other development that is being sort of hived off as part of this, because we're only dealing with half of this, is in some way dependent or very, very closely related to this development.
Which surrounding development do you mean? Do you mean this?
Well,
bit
no,
here?
here we've got arrows from this current development
Yep,
that we're
yep,
looking at,
yep.
going into this
That's
other
right, yes.
possible development or possible work of fiction.
Yep.
We don't know at this stage because nothing's come forward. And then further arrows from that development
Yes.
going into what I assume to be Beltinge over there.
Yeah, so we've got the area, the first bit you pointed out, the green arrows from
Yeah.
this application site, that's right. That will be dealt with in the Reserve Matters submission, so that's in outline at the moment. That's indicating where exits from the Taylor Wimpey site into the Kitewood site could be, but the details will be provided at Reserve Matters stage. Now, onwards from there, the Kitewood application, that's going to be dealt with by a separate submission, and that may have links into the northern site for development traffic. That is to be established by that application, and similarly to the AE Estates land to the.
But that
to the
hasn't, that's not included on this
It's not
application
included
at
in
all,
this
no,
application.
no.
I notice on here that halfway between here and the bridge,
Yeah.
there's a line, something going across the railway line. Do we know what that is? I've got it on mine.
Okay.
It's right here.
Yeah, I see it. That's a ditch culvert drainage feature.
So what, that will drain onto the railway line, presumably?
I think there's existing culverts down there. Now, KCC Flood Authority have looked at the proposed design of the drainage, and
So-
they've raised no objection with the principles that have been established, and there's a condition to require final details to be provided.
So that's not a wildlife corridor unless we've got deep diving otters or something here that will take that to get from one side to the other, because we've got these wild spaces but there's no link between them because we've got the railway, so
Yes.
there's no corridors at all between
Well,
the
I
two.
mean, yeah, there's not. There is the railway line there. That is a feature of the site. So, yes, that would cross
And
between.
that's not going to go anywhere.
Unfortunately.
No.
Is there any, in respect of the land, all this land here that goes up to the way we came in,
Yeah.
is there any protection in respect of that land to stop it being built on in the future and to preserve it in perpetuity.
Yeah, so there's a policy in the local plan about the protection of areas of open space that are provided as part of development sites. So I don't recall the policy number off the top of my head, I'm afraid, but there is a policy that requires that, and it's quite a rigid policy. So yes, that would afford protection. However, there isn't any sort of further legal protection beyond that.
So there's only planning protection.
That's right.
So there's no actual legal protection at this stage
Not
in
for
respect of these wild areas
Yeah.
that we have.
Not for its ongoing retention in the future. I mean, the applicant will be required to provide the levels that they've shown, and as I say, once they're provided, we have the policy that would protect them, but there's no
But that
ongoing...
policy could change. But there's no legal protection in perpetuity for this land, so that notwithstanding your policy, in 20 years' time, in respect of that land, they say, oh, we're going to stick something on that, if the policy would change.
Yes, I mean, there's no protection of that proposed in the 106 now.
But that could be changed.
I mean, I think we're straying into the merits. Probably we can probably.
No, I'm just concerned at the size of the land that we've got, and also if we're looking over there, we've got land which appears to be left.
Yes.
That there appears to be no plan in respect of the ecological use of that land at all.
Yes, I think it's something that the committee may ask us to investigate. That's something we can have a look at.
Okay.
All right, Ashley?
I think so.
Good.
I
Lovely.
think we've got a number of throughout the site over there.
Yeah.
We've got some open space, but I see on the larger plan that I've got is that the open space, a large proportion of that open space is taken up by attenuation, so seasonal lakes. That's correct, is it?
Yeah, there are some attenuation features provided within the open space.
Right.
We go fishing now. Councillor Pat Edwards, please.
Thank you. Can I just check something that was one part of your reply to the previous question about the access routes?
Yes.
Because you're saying that we're not agreeing access routes for the Kitewood and the A&E estates, parts of the development, but they are actually marked on here. They're clearly marked with green arrows, the same way as they are from this section that we are approving in detail. The same green marks go into parts of, I think, Beltinge Village.
So this is an illustrative master plan.
Yes,
that
that's what
applicant
I've got in front of me.
Yeah, so that's what they've submitted to show how the development can be delivered. It's a requirement of Local Plan Policy SP3 that says that for development of all or part of a strategic allocation site, they need to provide a master plan showing how the entire development could take place.
But we are approving that with those access points.
Well, this is illustrative. There are other plans submitted with the application which show only the application site that we're considering today, but as I say, the specific purpose of this one is to show how the development could as a whole take place. So it's a good context plan to look at, but yeah, those aren't fixed, and as I say, we're not considering an application for the development in those areas to the north of the site, the kind of lighter coloured areas, so those will be dealt with by separate applications.
Lovely.
This is one of the nonsenses of the planning process.
Yes,
So you
because
have a strategic site,
You can't,
which is
Ian, sorry.
split.
Could you say that for camera, because my residents will be wondering why I'm sitting here saying nothing.
Sorry?
Could you say that for the camera, because that's not the understanding I got from Colin Carmichael, and my residents will be wondering why I'm saying nothing.
For the benefit of the residents, we've got two resident councillors here, Beltinge councillor Jeanette and Ian Stockley. Unfortunately, they can't, and this is addressed to the residents, they can't have any influence on today's site meeting because they're not a member of the planning committee, and I've been asked to say that by Councillor Ian Stockley. It's not my rules, it's council rules, I'm sorry. Any other questions? David? Councillor David Thomas.
Is the Sainsbury's roundabout being upgraded?
No, I mean,
Because that's already gridlocked now, and in my eyes, since Sainsbury's has opened up, that is a recipe for disaster. It's already gridlocked.
and I think you're going to have traffic backing onto the Thanet Way now, and I think that's a major concern. I'm amazed, and I must admit, I put my hands up. I've missed out on that Sainsbury's roundabout, and it's horrendous at the moment. I have to use it. I'm trying to avoid it, but there is going to be an accident on there, and that's it. But
I mean,
might be
Colin, I
minor,
think
but-
you're probably going to say that we're straying into
Yeah,
the detail of it. Colin, Mr. Finch, I don't know if you had any comments on the Sainsbury's roundabout. I don't know if you picked up that question.
Yeah, sorry. No, I mean, there are no intentions to improve that roundabout. I imagine obviously what will happen once the link is through, the flows obviously will be more balanced perhaps than they are currently, and that obviously affects the operation of the roundabouts. But no, there aren't any plans to upgrade that.
Thank you, Colin. Dr. Colin Finch.
Just a point of clarification, Chair. What does Mr. Finch mean by the flows will be more even?
Did you get that, Colin?
Yeah, got that. So yeah, so at the moment the flows into the Sainsbury's are predominantly right turning, I imagine, into the site. And when the application is complete and the link road is complete, then there'll be greater flows coming in from the east. So roundabouts are really designed to work at their best operation when all arms are equal effectively, or there's equal flows coming in and out of each of the arms. At the moment there is an imbalance on that roundabout because
Go on. Thank Colin. Colin's got just a few more.
Clarification, please, Mr. Finch. When you say the link road, are you referring to the Herne bypass?
No, sorry, I'm referring to the Avenue connection, which is the east-west route.
Okay, right.
South of the railway.
Yeah,
through
okay,
Plymouth.
thank you. Yeah, cheers.
Thank you, Colin. That's lovely. If there's no other questions, boys and girls, I don't know, Steve. Do you want to go to another location? I mean, what's?
Well, it's up to
Well,
you.
yeah, I
we
mean,
could, if you want, just hop over the brow of the hill here and
I'd
have a
like
quick.
to suggest, Chair, if I may, that if you go literally about 50 yards down the road, you can see the northern part of the site much more clearly than you can from here, being obscured by this hedge at the moment.
Okay. All right. So we'll go on down this road, Steve, if it's okay with you, and we'll continue there. Now move further down Maze Road. This is Maze
Street.
Maze Street, yeah. We've now moved further down Maze Street, which gives you where the rest of the site to my left will be. So Steve, yes, over to you.
Yeah. So before we start, I think Colin Finch had some clarification he wanted to make over some points he heard. So Colin, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear you? All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. If you'd like to go ahead.
Sure. So one of the councillors asked a question about the accesses shown indicatively on the master plan with the green arrows. And the point I just wanted to make is that this application, in terms of our assessment of the junctions onto Sweetbridge Road and the shuttle potential shuttle traffic lights, have all been assessed on all movements going into Sweetbridge Road. So those indicative accesses shown in green, if you like, they will be something that will need to be assessed in applications coming forward from the other two applicants. So all movements at the moment are very much a worst case scenario, if you like. So movements have been assessed coming eastwards into Sweetbridge Road. So those junctions have been over-assessed, if you like, because once the allocation comes further forward and all other parts of the allocation are in place, if they happen, then the distribution would be such that there wouldn't be so many movements going through those junctions. So what is presented is an absolute worst case scenario.
Can I ask a question? Mr. Finch, can I ask a question? So are you saying when the next phase comes through, are you talking about the other two sites or the other excuse my maths, the other 700 houses that we've got proposed for outline planning permission. So this is for 190 odd houses at the moment. Are you saying the extra infrastructure, the road infrastructure, is for the other, you've taken in consideration for the whole 900 houses, or the extra infrastructure? The worst scenario is when you put the other two sites, the A&E and the other sites together, or are you talking about at the moment 192 houses is the worst scenario, or are you talking about 900 houses is fine?
Yeah, it's even more complicated than that, because when the application originally came through, it was submitted 955 dwellings. So so in terms of transport, the Taylor Wimpey have assessed 955. We did a further assessment though on the full 1300, even though that would never happen, because it's potentially likely that there would be other accesses from those other parts of the allocation. So in terms of the Taylor Wimpey can only access onto Sweettree Road, and so therefore those junctions have been assessed with the full element, 955, although it's only 900,
Okay.
slightly less than that, plus the 1300 of course for the wider allocation. But
That's the other 400 you mean, not 900? The other 400, not the other 1300?
The other 400.
Okay, thank you.
From the other parts of the allocation. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin. Steve.
Brilliant. Okay. So yeah, all I was going to show you from here really is that phase 1 of the development would be over in that direction there. So that would be the 193 dwellings. So that
Just past that hedge line.
yeah, sorry, just over there. So it would go up to where those houses are in the distance, and then it would also extend over in that direction behind those hedges up to Sweetbridge Road.
That's Sweettree Road there, yeah?
No, that's May Street. That's still May Street there.
Alright, I'm confused now.
Sweetbridge Road runs like that. Yeah.
It goes up.
Yeah.
I think essentially, I could crudely say that probably
That's the farm.
everything in front of me there is phase 1, up to the railway line and Sweetbridge Road and those houses there.
Can I ask another question?
Yep.
The upgraded link road to the Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
When has that got to be opened up and built?
Can I come back to you on that? Off the top of my head, I don't remember the figure. It's in the report.
Okay, thank you.
And there is a condition that relates to it, but I wouldn't want to say the wrong number.
No, that's
so,
fine. Thank
I
you.
can come back to you.
Cheers.
On that.
That's brilliant stuff.
There's no other questions, ladies and gentlemen.
I was just one that I will.
Councillor Eden Green, please.
This route through, if I may, is obviously going to be, as well as a vehicular route, a pedestrian and cycle route. One hopes particularly the latter. Presumably the whole section of May Street will be improved to a standard which is going to be acceptable for pedestrians and cyclists.
It will. I don't know whether
Obviously that should really be addressed, Nick, to Mr. Colin Finch, KCC. Colin, did you hear that?
Colin, I'm sorry, I should have addressed you. I apologise to you.
Not a problem,
It's the only time you're going to get an apology out of me.
So you'll have to forgive me because obviously not being there, so I'm assuming that you're looking north up May Street, is that the question?
Indeed, that's correct. And in fact, it's the whole of the whole stretch of May Street.
The whole stretch of May Street, okay. So if you've got part of your master plan in front of you,
Yes.
The indicative master plan, you'll see a connection going north-south and following along May Street. Now all of May Street essentially will be improved as a pedestrian cycle link. So until it connects to the new Spine Road, the East West Spine Road through the site. So all of that route heading north is essentially pedestrian cycling only, except that there are some businesses that are served off of that road. there will be some vehicular movement, although very minimal vehicular movement through that. But yes, it is all being improved. There are additional street lighting columns going in along there, and certain work to improve it.
That's very helpful, thanks. I assumed that was the case, but I just wanted to check. Thanks.
Well, we don't do that as part of this. That's entirely separate thing.
Okay, I think I think we've exhausted what we've come here to do today. In certain bits, I would appreciate a feedback from our two councillors when we finish this, either verbally or in writing, to see if it's been useful for them to attend and not be able to take part. So I would appreciate perhaps a phone call or written from them, and of course from many of our committee members that are here today as well. So I think,
Have they seen the...
yeah, I think have you, this is addressed to the committee. Have you seen everything that you believe wanted to see today, members of the committee?
I think it was very valuable, Chair, to actually be able to come here and hear other people's comments and questions, and also Mr. Finch on the phone as well, which
I think that's
Thank
the key.
you.
That's actually a very good reply, Connie, and I'm pleased to say that I agree with you, and let's hope that the Chief Executive agrees with us. And we take this forward and get back to some form of normality within our council. I believe, Ashley, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm just trying to
You're mumbling.
reconcile the scale on this with that development there.
Okay.
As to where that stretches, because it just doesn't make sense with the scales on the map.
No, well, it's unfortunately none of our maps are to scale.
On the map.
But that's something. So what I'm going to do, Steve, I'm going to close this site meeting now, if I can, and thank everybody for coming, and thank viewing members of the public that are going to look at this. And thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thank you.